Let me revisit this damning report. If you will remember, in 2019, when a report by the Auditor General that 178,459 firearms and ammunition had gone missing from the police armory, and until now, well, we've not had any explanation. I could recall that House of Representatives promised to investigate that report. So, I mean, doesn't this seem like this problem is systemic?
Yeah, you have said it all. Very systemic. You have said it all. Very systemic. An institutional problem. You see, one of the challenges we have in this nation is the fact that when we have issues, it's not only about that issue. There are several issues that the government will promise we will go and see to the root of this matter. And then you ask yourself many months thereafter, nothing is being done. The situation, like the guest in the house said, is very clear. It's an issue of leadership. How on earth can such weapons get missing from the custody of a person, like I said the other time, entrusted with such weapons? How? What happened? How can they do it? How can they do it successfully from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to the number you just mentioned, and then we are not concerned? It is not something that we need to we go after and ensure that the people involved are caught, prosecuted, and then the law takes its course. How do we have this kind of situation in our country? And like he said, it's a leadership issue, because the direction in which the leadership of a nation is going to is the direction that that nation is going to. If you look at it, there are reports about several people. Even that, if you remember, I'm just trying to use as an example the young lady that was set ablaze, and one of the culprits came out with a video, and some few days or weeks after, they said they can't find him. So surprising, they cannot find him. If they cannot find such a person, how can they find people that are entrusted with the custody and protection of our armory? And then they said this kind of arms were carted away from their possession and they cannot account for it. It is an issue of accountability. It is said, by virtue of statistics, that out of the 500 million illegal arms in Africa, 350 million is in Nigeria alone. About 350 million is accounted to be in circulation in Nigeria alone. So 150 million is circulated in other African nations. The question is, how are these things happening under the control right before people that are entrusted with that responsibility? So for me, it's a great concern. It's a great concern, because that is the reason why bandits is on the increase. All these other institutions, illegal institutions that we have around, and they are growing day by day. That is the reason, because if they don't have weapons to fight, how can they group themselves together and they form, a formidable force? They don't even, it's not just even about weapons alone. You will see them having grenades, having trucks, having those sophisticated weapons and equipment fighting our nation. So the big issue is that it is
really worrisome. There's a caller here now. We have a caller on the line. Abdul from Abeokuta. Oh, we lost him. Okay, we quickly finish your thoughts, Barrister.
So in a nutshell, it still goes back to the fact that we are praying to the leadership. I am not using the word politicians this morning because I feel politicians have failed us. We need leaders. We are praying to the leadership of this country. People, imagine if we have people like Dora Akuyuli, manning the different ministries of the ministers that we have in Nigeria. We have ministers manning different ministries, and we have such a woman. We are talking about her today because of what she did when she was appointed as DG of NAFDAC. Imagine we have ministers, we have people in parastatals, in those institutions and commissions like Dora Akuyuli. We will not be talking of this. We will have seen to the root of the matter. How did these weapons got missing? We would have. So my own submission is that we still need to talk to ourselves. It boils down to leadership. It boils down to followership. Our desire and our decision to make sure that Nigeria is great again.
All right, Olani, thank you for joining us from Oshu. Good morning. Okay, it looks like we've lost him. Now let me come to Mr. Mustafa in the house here. The lines are on. You can join the conversation. We're looking at arms proliferation, firearms proliferation control. Is it a roadmap? Is it the way to ensure a crime-free nation? But what are the challenges that we are facing with it? Now, Mr. Mustafa, let me come to you. And we're looking at the fact that, okay, when the barrister was speaking, was talking about almost 350 million. But, you know, when you look at the amount of one firearm, it's not something somebody will just go on the road to just go and buy. Now, does it not mean that there is a higher percentage of, you know, this proliferation from the high and mighty?
No, definitely, definitely. And that's the reason why I said it is not, we may not actually link it to poverty. Because it's a big business. There is the economic part of it, the economic angle of it. There are merchants of firearms that is what they do. That is where they derive their money. They know where to go and buy. They buy and sell, just the same way that you and I buy and sell other items in the market. That is what they profit from. And of course, an ordinary person cannot do that. Okay. It has to be people at very high level, people who use their position. Okay. The position they occupy, and money, and influence. Yeah. And if you look at it, that is the reason why I said it is not only about firearms. It is the same problem that you have in oil theft, such that of today Nigeria is saying we can't generate revenue because of oil theft. Who are the people that you find behind these things? Not you and I. They are billionaires and multi-billionaires. But my own take is that government is more powerful than individuals. It is the responsibility of government. And when we say government, we can even break it down. When it comes to control of borders, the agencies that are, you know, that have that responsibility, the custom is there, immigration is there, other agencies are there. So we know individuals that we need to hold accountable. And it is very important for me. When it comes to the firearms within the country, the police is there, the army is there, the air force is there. So we know individuals that we need to hold accountable for some of it. It's not as if we're a lawless society where the problem has been accountability. How do we hold people to account? There is high level of impunity. Impunity. People don't get punished, especially people at the higher level. Imagine the example, I mean the figure rolled out by my brother here. If so number of firearms are out there in Nigeria, imagine if there's a directive from the president, summon the Inspector General, National Security Advisor, Chief of Army, and said, I'm giving you so deadline. This figure must reduce. And then you also commission independent, security experts who will then monitor to see whether that directive has been carried out. Heads should roll where it should roll. People should take their responsibility very seriously. So things can work.
But what about independent security agencies? Because I could recall that in August 2022, the president approved the establishment of National Center for the Control of Small arms and light weapons, domiciled under the office of the NSA, the National Security Advisor. And I talked about the NASCOM, NATFORCE bill the other time. Do you think this national center should be reinvigorated, or we should have a task force, you know, a specialized task force?
For that purpose, because it's become an endemic problem, especially with this insurgency that we're having. Those initiatives are good, but it is one step, you know, to establish those agencies. It's another one to staff them with people of integrity, such that if you want to appoint people into such organization, you don't start to look for, you know, people, your in-law, your brother-in-law, people that have nothing. We should be purposeful and we should be serious. Okay. That is the point that I'm making in these things. These problems are not insurmountable. The political will and being able, having the courage to put the right people in the right place, and the courage to punish people if they don't do what they are supposed to do. Those are the issues there. So those agencies are good. They need to be reinvigorated. They need to, you know, you need to rejig them. You need to make them do what they are supposed to do. These are the things that other countries do, and they are moving forward.
What about the existing agencies?
Our problem in
decided with that responsibility.
Our problem has never been the problem of law. It has never been the problem of agency. In fact, we have too many agencies in Nigeria. Doing the same thing, repeating the work of.
All right, let me come to Barrister there. When he was talking about purposeful, you know, I remember we had somebody some time ago, you know, on an interview, and he was saying that the government is not serious, even about insurgency. Was talking about the fact that all the commander-in-chief needs to do is, once he gets the chief of army staff, tell him between now and December, deal with Boko Haram. If you don't deal with it, move him away, bring another person. You know, you give them marching orders. There are no marching orders. But we're just
okay. We have a caller.
Shegun is calling from Abeokuta. I hope we get through with Shegun now.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, I can understand that this program is a very good one. But you'll be discussing concerning the weapon increase in the country. But what of all this issue of calling for state policing, of which some of these organizations is already produced now for this state policing, they are also yearning for ammunition too, of which at present there is a lot of ammunition that is already in circulation, which is now creating all this problem we are facing in the country today. Don't you think that if they should produce, if there's state policing and they are giving arms, it might lead to another problem for the security of this country, because the government may not be able to finance this state police in terms of giving salaries, and in future they may also start to become something else, because they may form some kind of a union. And the union will come out and begin to fight for their rights, of which the government may not be able to pay, and they will now use their ammunition against the members of the public. This is my own intake, sir.
Okay, I'm sure Barrister, were you able to hear that what he was talking about state police, you know, the importance of state police, but then we're looking at proliferation control. Will state policing, you know, will he enhance that? But then the other question that I also asked is the fact that we are not purposeful enough, just like Mr. Mustafa is saying here, that government needs to take more proactive action. Government needs to, you know, be more decisive. Get the commander-in-chief, get the chief of army staff, give him instruction, give him a deadline, get the inspector general of police, give them a deadline, say between now and now, if you don't get this done. And I remember Babangida, you know, IBB, when Anini was terrorizing the nation in the 80s. You know, the moment he looked at the IGP and said, my friend, where is Anini? Some months or so later, or some weeks later, Anini, you know, the police got, you know, Anini out, you know, fished it out. So some people are saying that we are not decisive enough, that government is not decisive enough, is not purposeful enough, and then will state policing, you know, help stem the tide, or will it compound it?
I've done that.
Very well. My submission is
we have to just let's take this, you can add it to, let's take Mr. Laika quickly. Then we had Olayinka calling from Lagos.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you quickly.
Please, I have a question. And my question is, who is entitled to sell this arm? Can individual like me sell arm or sell this bullet to this hunter?
Okay, so that's still along our line of discussion. The barrister is, who is entitled to sell arms? I'm not sure Olayinka wants to sell arms, but she just wants to know who are the people at the end points who are dispensing these arms to the public.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olayinka. Let's take on the barrister now.
All right. To the very last question, the provisions of the law is very clear. Anybody who is interested can approach the necessary authorities. It is like our guest in the house there said, it is not something cheap. Anybody who's interested and has been able to meet the requirements to be able to do that, definitely it can be somebody who is not in the line of security. Definitely, for example, I'm a lawyer, I don't know anything about arms. I cannot even kill a chicken, not to talk of bearing arms or thinking of, going to get myself engaged in the sales of arms. You understand? So basically, the people that can get engaged in the buying
We're having a hitch there. Yeah. Okay, let's come to Mr. Mustafa here. Purpose. Are we purposeful enough? And then we state policing, but if Mr. A barrister comes on, we could
Quickly, we know the discussion on state police. I mean, it's a whole lot of discussion in itself. But the quick questions I'll put out there is that without state policing as we have it now, are we better off security-wise? Okay, if we are not better off, it's an option that we can actually take. The issue there is being purposeful, being sincere. And there is something that state, in my own thinking, will actually give us. If you have state policing, if Ogun State is having problems of firearms proliferation, and Oyo State is not having, then we put question mark. What is happening? What is going on in Ogun State? That's a pressure on the people in charge of security in Ogun State. If Sokoto is having problem and Zamfara is not having, then we know that, so there is that competition. People will be more cautious. People will know that, eyes are on us. But the way we have it at the moment, everything is everywhere, everybody, so state policing, I think that if we are going in that direction, and we manage it well, it's about proper management, it's about being purposeful, it's about leadership. If we do that, and we are able to put, for instance, at the level of states, governors in charge of security of their states, one of the things that they are trying to amend in the constitution right now. If we are able to do those things, I am sure that we'll be able to rein in, and control, firearms. But I think we should not put it as a stumbling block. If, as a nation, we look at other areas and advantages and disadvantages, and we come to the conclusion that, okay, state policing will actually help us. It actually goes beyond that. The borders, the system, and all that. Implementation of the law, the judiciary.
But still on state policing, I think one of the potential disadvantages or the fears that this could be hijacked. You would recall that prior to the Civil War, we had a regional policing system, and some will still tell you that that fueled that Civil War in which a particular region felt, yes, we're strong enough, why not, we could separate, we could secede. So that has always been the fear. And the more security agencies we have, the more firearms we have in the system. So then how can we control the firearms?
You just brought in one fresh dimension. The more agencies we have that we arm, the more the proliferation. I remember there has been argument that even FRSA, road safety, are even saying that they also want to be armed. And there's something wrong in arming these people, but you should also think about bad elements within those agencies that are going to take advantage of these firearms. So the fears, as you said, that we are having about the issue of state police, people we really don't want to have that experience we had that led to the civil war. But as a nation, as a country, my own take is that we shouldn't be guided by fear all our life. We shouldn't be guided by fear. We should actually ask ourselves, how can we do it better? What was it that we didn't do or we didn't get right during that time? How do we now get it right this time around? Because this issue of state police is one of those fundamental issues of structure. And until we get that structure right, what we have at the moment, it has become obvious, very clear to everybody that it is not working. So we need an alternative. We may pilot, we may not go the whole hog, we may try to do pilot project here and there and all that. But I would not want us as a nation to sit back and under fear and be feeling trepidation that okay, we can't achieve this.
Well, Otuji talked about marching orders at the other time, and I think we've had enough of that from the president. I could recall when he said military should shoot at sight anyone carrying AK-47. The other time he asked them to stop this madness. So we've always been having this marching order. So, I mean, what else?
What else? What else there is?
Well, are they really strong marching orders?
Absolutely, that is number one. Number two, how many heads have rolled? When you give order, your order should be backed by action. And people, if I come around here, I give you order today, nothing happens after that. I come around, I give somebody else, I say, oh, don't worry, your guy will soon go. And that is what we've been having. So, and that is the reason why we are emphasizing the issue of leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. If you have a purposeful leadership that they know, in fact, they dare not even come to you because you give them resources. You give them their budget, you release it to them on time, you give them everything they need recruitment, you approve it for them and everything. And then you say, Mr. Man, come here. I've given you everything that you need. And to whom much is given, everything is expected under this circumstance.
That's right.
Everything is expected. And so, you have to back it up with action.
I think we've been able to do a kind of a critical analysis and introspection. We've tried to look at firearms proliferation control, a road to ensuring crime-free nation. But the challenges are humongous. What we need to do, we have a lot to do. We want to thank our guest, the public affairs analyst, Mr. Olayinka Mustafa, for being part of this whole segment this morning. And of course, Barrister Bayo Drojaye. Unfortunately, we lost him on Zoom. But before that ended, he was able to make his own contributions. Well, the debate continues. The issues are still with us, and we will continue to see how firearms proliferation could be reduced in the country. We'll take a break now on New Dawn. When we come back, there's another issue that we want to look at. Stay with us.